Welcome to the Love Sessions. I'm Nori, and my beautiful, amazing co-host is Lily. Hi, Lil.
Hello, wonderful Nori. How are
Good,
you?
good day. I'm good. I'm just calling to communicate with you.
But I'm bump.
Exactly. So this
Jump
is
right in.
this is number 17, Love Session. That's my favorite number.
That's right. That's
Favorite
right.
number.
Okay.
And I've been thinking about communication. Actually, the last love session, we decided that there needed to be a part two to communication because it's such a vast topic.
Hmm.
And part of what inspired the communication was the difference in the way that men and women communicate, and what really the foundation of the initial conversation was how women and men process communication. Like the example that I gave was when a person breaks up. Now, granted, breaking up is way different, right, in 2019, because text message breakup was not a thing, several years ago, but that really happened. So women do women experience the communication on their feet, and do men get it a little bit later because there was a breakup and the woman was going through the grief process and all of the stages of the breakup, and then 3 months later the guy shows up like, wait a minute, this is really real. So I was like, how did that happen? What do you think?
Well, it's really interesting, and people might make faces at that one because we went right there, but it's very true. And I've actually seen studies that have been done that show up with proof that women and men will process, here specifically we're talking about a breakup, completely different. Like a woman will go head on, I like what you said, on her feet, head on, straight away, deal with the grief and all of the feelings right away, all the, the crying and the venting to the girlfriends and the eating of the ice cream and
Yes.
maybe the drunk dials and all the mess, all
Oh
the mess
no.
of it,
Yeah.
pretty much on the front end. And
Mm-hmm.
however long it takes them to get through that, they get through that. Where men tend to put that all in a box and not deal with it. And sometimes that's why you'll see, like, maybe the man goes off and he's dating right away and he gets into another relationship, or he's out, dating a different person every night and just hanging out with his friends. And meanwhile, the woman is on her couch still crying, and you think like, oh, maybe he really didn't care, or the relationship wasn't important to him. And it's not that. It's just they process it different. They kind of put that on hold, and very often it's going to circle back and hit them, sort of blindside them at some point later on, and go like, oh wait, that hurt. I lost this person. Did this really happen? Is it really over? Ouch.
Yeah. Ouch.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah.
So that's so interesting. And you are the relationship guru. So I love getting this information from you. And so I'm thinking about, like back to nursing school and communications classes, and how men do compartmentalize. But I didn't realize that they could put like a breakup in a box. And then eventually that box is going to come back and hit them in the head. Like you said, they're going to have to open it. So, but that's true. I would be thinking, well, he must never have cared about me. He mustn't have loved me if he can be out, dancing and carrying on and dating somebody different every night. And so that's so interesting. But it's so interesting that the woman's processing it immediately. What happens if you get back together? Like, you had all that grief for nothing. So I'm kind of seeing that the natural tendency of men to compartmentalize might be a little beneficial. I mean, that's only if you're going to get back together, but if you're not, I would rather just go through it and be done with it immediately.
Well, what happens is, and yeah, people do get back together, and then there's still a lot of that stuff that has to be worked through. But a lot of times, and it's actually happened to me personally, but a lot of times, by the time the man circles back, you're over it. You're done.
That's
You've
true.
moved on, and it kind of comes like a shock. Like, wait, now you want to have the closure conversation. Now you want to apologize. Now you want to ask me for explanations. Like that, I moved on a long time ago, and it's can be very confusing to the woman as well as the man, because their timing, for them, the timing is perfect to have this conversation. But the woman's like, nope, that should have been done, a long time ago. So if you get back together, then that little mess still has to be cleaned up.
Absolutely. So if he came back during the couch ice cream eating time frame, not like post ice cream eating, I've already gained 5 pounds and lost it, you're way too late. Like if he came back during the ice cream eating, there might have been a better chance.
Yeah, maybe. Or not, because, he might come back thinking, well, we can just pick up where we left off. We can just, they are still in that no mess phase, and like, oh, we can just, pick up some tools and just bang this thing back together.
Yeah.
And it should be okay. And meanwhile, the woman needs to cry it through, and she needs to handle the mess right then and there. And that could definitely still cause that, you're communicating one way, I'm communicating another way, and it's just not me matching up. Even though we want to get back together, we love each other, or we haven't gotten over each other, which is completely different from we still love each other. But there's still going to be that kind of, that little bump there, like,
Yeah. So I'm thinking about the mess in the box, Lily. So the mess in the box, right? Like, I'm breaking up with you. I'm not tracking for the future with you anymore. So we put that mess in the box. The guy puts the box on the shelf. I would venture to say, or I would imagine that the longer it goes, that relationship that needed to be addressed, whether it was going to end or whether it was going to get back together, it gets more messy as time goes on. So if you pick the box up in 3 months, there's like a tangled mess of spaghetti in there.
Yeah. And I
think?
And a lot of times what happens is the man opens that box and they don't want to deal with it because it is so messy, and they can actually put it back on the shelf. So it can go years. Like, they could probably live almost a whole lifetime carrying that heartbreak within them without ever really expressing it.
Wow. So that communication never really gets processed.
No.
But it's still in there. I mean, doesn't it have to surface someday?
You would think so, and it probably does in certain ways. Like, perhaps that behavior of going out every night with your friends drinking and, serial dating and all of that's a little bit of processing it in a very messy way, it's another way of covering up the pain.
Right.
So it never has to surface. And, to be fair, we're still dealing with the stereotypes of men and women. So a lot of men, they feel like they have to be strong and tough. They're not allowed to show their emotions. They're not allowed to cry. So that's all part of it. They might not have. For women, most of the time we have these support systems set up, and we have our girlfriends that are going to, rally around us during the breakup and, sit around and bash him with us and be like, all right, let's watch Waiting to Exhale. Let's go, burn his clothes. They're supporting us. But for men, they might not have that. They might have like, oh, get over it. Let's go out. Let's go out to the bar tonight. Let's get you hooked up. Have a few drinks. So they don't have that space where they can feel safe letting all that pain out. So they have to keep pushing it into that box and keep closing that box until maybe until never. It just stays there.
Until never. So that's so interesting, because I'm remembering hypnotherapy sessions that I've done with people where they hadn't completely processed the ex-husband or the marriage or whatever, and here they are in hypnotherapy because they want to skyrocket their career, and we go into the subconscious mind, and oh, who's there? The ex-husband is still there. So not just men do that, obviously. I mean, we all do that. I can think of an aunt that this was a really sad situation. I mean, my cousin died in a car accident, and because she hadn't processed the death of the marriage, she didn't intentionally, it just happened, that she was grieving the death of the marriage at the funeral of her son. I mean, and that really, really happened. And that compounded the pain for her, so greatly. So,
yeah, that makes sense. Because it's not necessarily, we're talking men and women, but it's not necessarily 100% that way. Right. Those roles can switch.
Absolutely.
They can, it's just how, back to what you were saying at the beginning, it's just how anyone processes the communication.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, this whole topic, it stimulates, well, I mean, I guess I figured this out earlier because, I processed my mother's death and dying with a coach because I knew I needed to, because I didn't want any lingering, non-communication or, messy spaghetti in a box to hit me years later. So this would be very illuminating for people, to see if when a breakup happens, or even if, a breakup at the office happens, if maybe it wouldn't go better to process it with a coach. I mean, I will have you on speed dial if that happens for me, Lil. Seriously.
Well, we both know everything's easier with a coach.
Absolutely.
It's just having someone who's part of your support system, but is not necessarily going to be there to cheer on every move you make.
Right.
But having that reflection to help process that, absolutely. Any kind of big change, breakup, like you said, breakup at work, or just a big change, it's always easier if you have someone in your life, like a coach, that can help you get through that, help you process that, help you analyze how you're dealing with things, and maybe make the decisions of how you're going to respond or react.
Mm-hmm. And it forces it. Well, I won't say it forces. We choose to process the communication, right, of everything that's coming in, and the way that we want to respond. We choose to process it on our feet. So there's really no putting it in a box.
Right. Well, going back to, like you mentioned, breaking up via text, that didn't exist a while back, and everything right now happens so fast. It's not that things that are happening now didn't happen a long time ago. They did, but now we hear about them faster. We are required to process them faster. We're almost not allowed that downtime because you have to respond or react right away on your feet, like you're saying. And maybe we're not able to do that. Maybe that's not where we do our best processing. But the whole text thing, like texting gets a really bad rap, especially with relationships and things. People are like, don't text. You want to get on the phone call, or you want to get in person and have that eye contact, or at least hear the person's tone in their voice and things like that. And absolutely, that's true. But you know what? A long time ago, we communicated via letters.
Oh, that's right.
That's how people communicated. And not only via letters, but letters that took a really long time to get to the other person.
Wow, that's so true. Like the famous Dear John letter, or it could be Dear Jane. Yeah, that's so interesting.
So we had all that time and space to respond.
Yeah.
So I actually like texting, quite frankly. I think yes, there's in any communication, even if you're sitting face to face with a person, you can misinterpret. So that's going to across the board. But with texting, it gives me time to read the text and think about how I feel about it. think about how I want to respond, if I want to respond, think about my response. Although it's probably, seeing those three little bubbles on the other end of the person is probably driving them crazy.
Yes. Yeah. Like, is she going to answer me? Exactly. Is she texting someone else?
Exactly.
What's happening?
But it gives you that cushion. I think that is nice to have sometimes. And I mean, we've all done this. I know I've done this. We've all done this. You get into a text fight with somebody and your fingers are flying. You're just like, send, and you're not even reading what the other person is sending, right?
That's so funny. And that's what I was thinking when you were saying that. Like you are talking about doing mindful texting. So the mindfulness, you're taking a breath, you're taking a pause, you're taking a moment to see how you're going to process that communication, then respond. And now we're talking about fast and furious texting where we're responding to things that we think they're going to say.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Which we do that in conversation anyway.
We do that.
But it can happen in text. But in a conversation, you don't necessarily have that luxury of that time. Because if you're sitting on the phone with someone or you're sitting face to face with someone and you say something, guaranteed they're not going to give you 5 minutes to respond, much less a day or two. They're going to be in your face like, well, are you going to say something? Are you going to say something?
No, I'm really not.
Right.
And this is so good because it's so it's the love sessions. We're bringing love back to you, bringing it back to us. And we're talking about processing communication. So this is so good because it's okay to say, you know what? No, I'm not going to say anything because I'm afraid what I'm going to say is going to be laced with emotion and fueled with anger because I'm really angry right now. So I'm going to take 5 minutes, or I'm going to take a half hour, or I'm going to take 2 weeks, whatever you need in order to process what's flying between the two of you.
Right. If that's what you need, then yeah, go ahead and take it. It's great if you can calmly let the other person know that, and if they can calmly accept that might not necessarily happen, but as you said, it's about you. So if that's what you need, go ahead and take that. And I think text is a wonderful way to do that, but you can do that in any kind of conversation.
Yes.
I heard you. I understand that this is important to you. I'm not sure how I feel about it right now, so I want to take a little bit of time to just process it, and I'm going to get back to you. I promise I'm going to get back to you.
That's so good. That's so good. So this is good. My whole perspective on texting communication and processing it has changed as a result of this communication. It's totally changed. That's so good.
Good.
Yeah. I'm going to process this.
Oh, okay.
I think I already know the end result of my processing. This was really good communication, Lily. Thank you.
Thank you.
Really awesome. Let's communicate again soon.
Let's do that.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.